その石どうするの？
イスベラムの頭にぶつけて冷ますってもんだ。
I'm pretty sure you would fit in perfectly with the cast of another Hanna-Barbera property. Wait, they're making a reboot for that too? After opening with a couple of very pleasant images, the girls gave chase to Mojo. They managed to get some unexpected help from this random kid who accidentally kicked him with a soccer ball and shoe. Joke's on you, dude. That's a Nike. It left the factory tattered. Thanks to him, the girls managed to make quick work of the evil monkey, during which Kaoru used some of her soccer skills, which caught the boy's eye. It was pretty apparent that he was really into soccer as...
これ、じいちゃんが死ぬ前に買ってくれた大事なシューズなんだ。
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Seriously, way to dump an emotional load there, kid. As a result, Kaoru couldn't refuse his request when he asked her to coach him on how to dribble properly so that he could graduate from just being a bench warmer on his soccer team. Of course, she told him that somebody who just so happened to look exactly like her would teach him. Amazing what a baseball cap and a pair of glasses can do. During all of this, Utonium provided the girls with a very plot-convenient upgrade to their belts, which will allow them to transform on their own without the rest of their team or Peach's activation call. Still, while this is a little forced and gives away what's going to happen, at least they are trying to keep things consistent with this show. Can't tell you how many times Ryuki broke their own rules regarding mirrors. Anyway, Kaoru introduced herself to the kid, whose name, by the way, was...
新一です。よろしくお願いします。
Oh, so Conan finally decided to come clean after almost 3 decades. The lesson started fairly basically, with Kaoru first measuring his skills by having him try to pass 2 amateurs in Momoko and Miyako. From there, she managed to figure out a proper lesson plan for Shinichi at the shopping arcade, and oh wow, that's a hell of an animation error. Okay, so some random background Pegasus becomes one of the most popular characters in the series, and yet no one pays attention to this? Regardless, she was providing him with some very practical training by having him try to guide his way through the busy crowds. Basically, she wanted to have him learn how to focus more on the people around him rather than just on the soccer ball.
ドリブルをしている時に相手の動きや周りの状況をしっかり把握するためのも
So yeah, it was a very Mr. Miyabi sort of moment for Kaoru that also built off of her character, as she has been previously established to not only be into sports, but also does care deeply about younger kids. Let's not forget, the whole reason she became a Powerpuff was because she was trying to protect a kid. You know, recently, another YouTuber named Streak finished up reviewing all material relating to the 2016 reboot. I think he did great work, and I highly recommend checking out his videos. And one of the biggest takeaways I got from that was how he found that the Buttercup of that series was a definite creator's pet. That version of the character apparently got a lot of needless special treatment, getting more spotlight episodes than the other girls, and having her save the day the most. All the while, seldom being called out for her mistakes that ended up causing conflicts. As a result, not only did it get annoying fast, but also prevented viewers from gaining any real solid grasp on the character with her personality and attributes constantly changing on the fly just to conform to whatever story they wanted to tell that week with a skill set that she never previously established to have. Contrast that with Kaoru here. Not only has she worked relatively well with her team, especially considering how much of a loner she was at the beginning of the series, she also did have some actual motivations for why she wanted to help kids like Shinichi.
俺にも似たような経験があるんだよ。
She knew what it was like to constantly strive to become better in spite of what others might say, and having loving family members support her throughout. And while her brothers just buying her new shoes wasn't exactly as heavy as a final gift from a grandfather, the point still stood that she knew what it was like to try and repay the kindness of others. It's honestly kind of amazing how within just the span of a few minutes, they managed to make this character not only really likable, but also stand out from the original, and definitely from the reboot. The next day, she went with Shinichi to his game. Understandably, the coach wasn't just going to instantly put him in the game, not that it really mattered, because I think Mojo wanted to play his preferred version of dodgeball.
Bombardment, deal with it! Bombardment, that's a bitch, son!
This did give Kaoru the opportunity to try out her newly upgraded belt, but she still needed help from her team. That, and maybe a little bit from her student, who thanks to Mojo's shy designs, managed to distract him long enough for Miyako and Momoko to make the save. What the hell?
Stupid monkey.
With that, they managed to save the soccer team, and Shinichi's little display of bravery earned him a spot on the team, ending a really nice first half of the episode. The second half of this episode opened with something I wish I could play for you guys, but you know, YouTube and all that. All I will say is that Fuzzy here not only plays a really nice tune, but he has a really good singing voice too. Maybe that's just another reference to the original, considering that Jim Cumming also has a great singing voice.
Dear, here's a sign, it's the end of the line.
Be prepared.
And yes, I say the tune is nice, in spite of the lyrics being about this pink furball lusting after Miss Bellum and wanting to turn her into his property.
I masturbated to an extra curvy piece of driftwood the other day.
Of course, he decided to act on his primal urges and kidnapped her. Fortunately, the professor happened to be there, and he immediately had the girls deploy, and okay, seriously, they're just reusing this cut from episode 5. Did Fuzzy's soundtrack take that much out of the budget? Then again, I can't really complain, as again, this was a nice tune with Miyako even agreeing with me. This also might have been why Peach didn't detect him, as his feelings for Miss Bellum weren't the usual brand of malice the Black Aura gives off. Yeah, just ignore the fact that he's radiating a very dark predatorial aura instead. Still, the girls decide to support Fuzzy with his pure love, and yes, I'm using very big air quotes. And to be fair, they did help to give Miss Bellum a nice awakening with flowers and everything. Only problem was that everyone still hadn't had lunch yet. So Fuzzy provided food for the girls, and then tried the same for Miss Bellum by giving her the blue plate special. This is what happens when you let Timon and Pumbaa be your personal chefs. And yet, he ended up blaming it on the girls, tossing them into the snowy mountains, where they encountered Yuki-onna. Oh, so this is what would have happened to Ys if she never became a Precure. Fortunately, she gave them a one-way trip back to Fuzzy just as his lust went to the Black Aura territory. This gave the girls more than enough reason to return the favor. The mayor and Utonium soon arrived to pick them up, and understandably, Miss Bellum had seen more than enough of the great outdoors for one day. With that, the episode ended with Fuzzy finding his equal with Cure Cold Passion. This was another fun episode with some great character development for Kaoru, and at least some nice songs from Fuzzy. Whatever the case, it was nice to learn more about Kaoru, who has been the most abrasive of this team so far, and yet has slowly been opening up to her teammates and is becoming a great role model. Yeah, the second half wasn't quite as good as the first, a bit of a pattern I'm starting to notice with Yoichi Takahashi scripts, but still, again, at least Fuzzy's tunes were nice. Head writer Yoshio Urasawa came back for this Kaoru episode and clearly showed he had actual plans for these characters. In the case of the cup of butter, he gave her some very clear motivations behind her tomboyishness. Kaoru has always been naturally competitive, but she likely wouldn't have taken it nearly as far as she did had her family not given her the encouragement the whole way through. The fact that much of that came from her brothers, whom she had a typical love-hate sibling relationship with, gave her all the more reason to meet those expectations. It was a very touching and really inspiring backstory that she even wanted to share with others. Her training with Shinichi actually made a lot of real-world sense for such an over-the-top show like this. Thus, while the stuff with Mojo did help move the plot along, it was learning more about Kaoru and her goodwill that really sold me on this one. Thus, anything that followed that up wasn't going to be nearly as good, especially when it involved Fuzzy trying to get his jollies on. Honestly, I did get a few laughs from this one, and again, I really like his singing, just as long as you overlook some of the ickiness of it all. But yeah, other than that, this was a very simple story with a very simple solution. So definitely watch this one for Kaoru and maybe look up the OST. If you saw my last Tropical Rouge review, I mentioned how Toei might be sending C&Ds to fan subbers of Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, and now I'm starting to hear conflicting reports that those might have been fake. Yeah, honestly, I can't confirm or deny anything just yet, except that some other Sentai and Rider reviewers haven't really been affected, so that's enough of a green light for me to finish up my Toy Trinity video, which again is just going to be much easier to make while I'm busy with some other stuff. So look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and strange it shouldn't be snowing in Hawaii. Why do I always end up writing in these videos?